All right. So have you ever found yourself kind of daydreaming in the library, wishing you could, just stay there like forever?
Uh-huh.
Well, today we are diving deep into what it takes to actually make the library your domain. As a library manager,
Right.
we've got a stack of resources to unpack on this one. And just skimming through, I'm already seeing this is way more than, bookshelves and reading lamps.
It's definitely a far cry from the stereotype, that's for sure. We're talking about like a really dynamic blend of leadership. You need tech skills
Oh, wow.
and a genuine passion for knowledge.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can forget that quiet bookworm image. This is about guiding people through like a constantly evolving world of information.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But before we get lost in the stacks, I think we need to paint a picture of what a library manager actually does.
Okay.
The guide mentions managing budgets, and then it mentions like supervising equipment, library equipment.
Right?
What kind of gadgets are we talking about here?
Well, that's the thing. It's not
Yeah.
just, dusty encyclopedias anymore.
Okay.
Think computers, digital archives. Uh, I've even seen libraries with 3D printers.
Wow.
Libraries are becoming like these incredible tech hubs now.
Yeah.
And a good manager needs to be, on top of it all. Imagine like explaining to someone how to use a 3D printer to create a model of Globe Theater
Oh, why?
for their Shakespeare project, right?
Right.
That's the kind of like cool stuff you might be dealing with.
Wow. I'm already picturing the potential disasters with that one.
Right.
But it sounds like amazing problem-solving experience too.
Oh, yeah.
So you're juggling tech, budgets, probably even like a staff training.
Yeah, yeah.
And the guide ranked active listening as a top skill for this role, even higher than some sales positions.
Right.
That's kind of surprising. Why is that so crucial?
Well, when you think about it, libraries are all about understanding people's needs, right?
Yes.
Someone might come in needing a specific book or they need help navigating a complex online database for research. Being able to truly listen and guide them to the right resources is like key.
Totally.
Yeah,
It's like being a detective of information.
it is.
That makes me think, with all this tech involved, is a background in computer science necessary to be a successful library manager these days?
Well, it's definitely becoming more and more important. Think about it. Libraries are basically turning into these giant free information centers.
Mhm.
We're talking online catalogs, digital archives, ebooks, the works. A library manager needs to be comfortable not only using this technology themselves, but also training staff and patrons on how to use it effectively.
Yeah.
So we're talking website management, digital preservation, maybe even a bit of coding if you're feeling adventurous.
Okay, this is blowing my mind. Forget the quiet life. This
Yeah.
sounds like a fast-paced, like constantly evolving career.
For sure, for sure.
And speaking of evolving, the guide lays out like the typical career path. And it seems surprisingly structured. You can start as a library assistant, move up to a technician, then assistant manager. Uh, it seems like there's a clear path for growth.
Yeah, you've hit on a key point. This isn't a dead-end job. There's a ladder to climb here. With experience and potentially some additional certifications, you can go far. Speaking of certifications, did you know about the Certified Public Library Administrator designation?
I did see that mentioned, but to be honest, I skimmed right over it. What does that entail?
So it's a nationally recognized certification from the American Library Association, so it carries a lot of weight. It shows potential employers that you're serious about your professional development and that you have a deep understanding of the ins and outs of library management. It can open a lot of doors in terms of career advancement and salary potential.
So it's like the difference between having a driver's license and like having a commercial driver's license.
Exactly.
It shows you're equipped to handle the big rigs of the library world.
But don't let all this talk of like technology and certifications intimidate you.
Right.
At its heart, this job is about something much more fundamental.
Okay, you've definitely painted a picture of a career that's way more dynamic than I imagined. But let's talk brass tacks.
Okay.
Why should someone listening think, this is the job for me? What are the real perks beyond, just the smell of old books?
Well, for one, you'd be hard-pressed to find a career that's more like vital to a community than a library.
Yeah.
It's a cornerstone. It's a free resource for, everyone, regardless of background. And that translates into some serious job security.
Oh, yeah.
In a world obsessed with, automation and constant change,
Right.
libraries remain these havens of human connection and learning.
That's a good point. No one's outsourcing a book club or like a story time, at least not yet. But beyond the stability, what about the actual work itself?
Yeah.
The guide uses a lot of words like enriching and empowering. Is it really that fulfilling?
It can be incredibly rewarding, yes. Imagine helping a struggling student finally grasp, like, a difficult concept,
Yeah.
or connecting a newcomer to the community with resources that make them feel welcome. You're not just managing books. You're fostering literacy, you're sparking curiosity, and you're opening doors to new worlds.
Okay, I have to admit you're making me a little envious right now,
Uh-huh.
but let's be real. No job is perfect.
Right.
The guy did mention things like budget constraints and difficult patrons.
Oh, yeah.
What's the reality check here?
You're right. It's not all, reading rainbows and organizing book clubs.
All right.
Like any management role, there'll be administrative headaches, tough decisions, and yes, the occasional challenging personality to navigate. Remember those 3D printers we talked about?
Yeah.
Imagine trying to explain to someone, again, why they can't print a life-sized replica of a dinosaur skeleton.
Okay, that's hilarious and horrifying at the same time. I can definitely see how patience and a bit of a sense of humor would be key. What about the tech side of things? That seems like it could be a huge source of stress, constantly having to adapt to new software, new gadgets.
It's a valid concern, but honestly, that's also what keeps things exciting. For someone who thrives on, like, staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
The library world is constantly evolving. You're not just maintaining the status quo. You're curating an experience, both, physical and digital. It's about finding creative solutions with limited resources, which can be incredibly stimulating.
This reminds me of that career progression we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Starting as a library assistant, you're getting that hands-on experience, learning the ropes.
Right?
Then as you move up to library technician, things get more specialized, right?
Exactly. You might find yourself managing those digital archives, overseeing interlibrary loans, or even like designing online resources.
Yeah.
And from there, you're on your way to those leadership roles, assistant library manager, and eventually maybe even running the whole show.
It's like leveling up in real life.
It is.
And speaking of leveling up, how important are those certifications, like the CPLA, for someone who's serious about, like, climbing that ladder?
They can be a real game changer.
Yeah.
Think of it like this. You've got all these passionate, talented people drawn to library work.
Yeah.
But the CPLA, that's like getting your master strategist badge.
Oh.
It shows you're not just book smart. You've got the leadership skills, the
Yeah.
budget know-how, the whole package to manage a complex organization.
So it's about standing out from the crowd, showing you're not just along for the ride, you're here to drive the bookmobile. But seriously, it sounds like this career requires a really unique mix of talents. The guide mentions everything from reading comprehension, no surprise there,
Right.
to computers and electronics, to management of personnel resources.
And that's what makes it so fascinating. You're a leader, a tech navigator, a budget whisperer, a conflict mediator when those, challenging personalities arise.
And at the end of the day, you're a champion for knowledge and community access.
And-
It's a lot to juggle, but incredibly inspiring. So for our listener who's feeling fired up right now, what's the first step? How do they, dip their toes into this world?
So much to consider. I imagine a good starting point is, getting some real-world experience.
Absolutely. Volunteering at your local library is a fantastic way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
You'll see firsthand the day-to-day rhythm.
Right.
Interact with patrons, maybe even get to, shelve a few books. It's also a great opportunity to chat with actual library staff,
Yeah.
especially those library managers, and hear their journeys.
I bet they have amazing stories about misplaced dinosaur bones from the 3D printer.
Oh, I'm sure.
But in all seriousness, it's one thing to read about a career
Right.
and another to see it in action, right?
Yeah. And while you're kind of soaking up that library atmosphere, why not attend a library conference or two?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Conferences are fantastic for making connections, attending workshops on the latest trends, learning from experts in the field. You might even discover niche areas within library science that you didn't even know existed, like digital asset management or community outreach programs for specific demographics.
Wow, the possibilities seem endless. Speaking of possibilities, internships.
Yes,
Those always look good on a resume.
you bet. They provide valuable experience and they give you a chance to Apply those hard-earned skills in a real-world setting, and don't underestimate the power of networking. Connect with professionals on LinkedIn, attend webinars, join online forums. The more you immerse yourself in the library community, the more opportunities will present themselves.
It's like building your own personal Dewey Decimal System for career success. So
Exactly.
you're volunteering, networking, maybe even interning. What about those essential skills the guide kept mentioning?
Keep honing them. Communication is key, both written and verbal. Take a public speaking class, join a writing group, practice your active listening skills. And remember, technology is your friend. Familiarize yourself with library management software, experiment with digital archiving tools, and don't be afraid to, get a little techie.
Who knows, you might be the one who invents a way to print those dinosaur bones sustainably.
Now, that would be a game changer. But on a serious note, the library world needs passionate, tech-savvy individuals who are ready to embrace the future of information access.
It sounds like a recipe for a fulfilling and impactful career. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main takeaway for our listener?
If you're looking for a career that's both challenging and rewarding, where you can make a real difference in your community and constantly learn and grow, then a career as a library manager might be the perfect fit.
And honestly, in this crazy, fast-paced world, who wouldn't want to be surrounded by the quiet wisdom of books and that comforting hum of turning pages?
Indeed. And with the rise of, digital resources, that quiet wisdom is now more accessible than ever before.
This has been a really eye-opening journey into a career path honestly, I hadn't fully appreciated. It's clear that libraries are so much more than just repositories of books.
Right.
They're vibrant community centers, hubs of innovation, gateways to endless possibilities.
And who knows, maybe one day libraries will even have those teleportation devices we've been promised.
Oh, wow.
Imagine instantly transporting yourself to any library in the world.
That's a future I want to live in. But until then, we encourage you to explore the amazing world of libraries and discover the potential that awaits. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, the only limit to knowledge is the size of your imagination.